Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today with my review for Mass Effect Andromeda, a game that has such a bad stigma at its current launch period. Is all as bad as it's made out to be, or is there some good to be found within BioWare's latest title? I want to start off by addressing what this game will inevitably be referred to as. Mass Effect Andromeda is the black sheep of the Mass Effect franchise. It's the game that lots will shit on for its flaws that betray what the originals stand for, but others will absolutely adore it and all it has to offer. Need an example? The Mafia 3 of BioWare, the Fallout 4 of Mass Effect, the Bioshock 2 of Mass Effect, the type of game that will be discussed for years to come about what went right and what went wrong. I was someone who advised cautious optimism for a majority of the journey leading to Andromeda. After 35 plus hours with the title, the main story complete, a majority of the side missions done with many still left to do, all my loyalty missions checked off, and a foray into the game's multiplayer, I can confidently say I like a lot of things about Mass Effect Andromeda. It comes with an ass ton of flaws that make it question how much QA this game went through, but in the end, I feel your enjoyment with Andromeda will depend on how tolerant you are of certain flaws. Let's address the technical issues first. Andromeda is not technically sound in any way, shape, or form. Its combat AI is piss poor, where both your squad mates and your enemies are competing to see who can die the quickest by sprinting out of cover and standing out in the open, where you may as well have handed them a sign to hold that says, "Hey, fucking shoot me." Other technical issues arise mostly in conversations, whether it is the terrible human facial animations that, while they're not as bad as the internet made them out to be, are still pretty bad. This is likely due to the same skeleton being used to animate on all alien species, which makes every race but the humans look normal when speaking, which is kind of ironic. There were times after death where the load screens were so incredibly long that I thought my game crashed until a minute and 42 seconds later. Yes, I timed it. My game actually loaded in and I thought to myself, wow, the game was actually working that entire time. Audio bugs are also littered all over the place and are easily the worst part of the bug storm here. Examples such as hearing your player character's voice as if he's wearing a helmet when he's not, and vice versa. Another audio bug is the awkward and unintentional delay where all the characters in conversation stand there and exchange looks blankly as if someone tried to rip ass and cover it with a cough but miserably failed. There's also a weird controller issue that I experienced once, but Reddit has been ensuring BioWare hears about this problem in full. Here's the thing though. Remember how I mentioned earlier that this game's enjoyment depends a lot on your tolerance? Well, I know a lot of my audience play Bethesda Game Studios games out there, and this all should sound pretty familiar. I'm not excusing either company whatsoever because it's fucking bullshit, but I played Bethesda Game Studios games all the time, so these issues don't really fluster me. Regardless though, that doesn't account for everyone, and on top of that, these are AAA games. They're supposed to represent the best our gaming industry has to offer. These bugs are unacceptable for either party and are beginning to grow fucking tiresome. Alright, how about some happy stuff? Mass Effect Andromeda's fun comes to form when you're questing, talking to people, shooting shit, solving problems, making choices. When this is at the forefront, Andromeda is at its best. Sadly, it takes about 7 or so hours to actually get there. After the first vault on EOS, where the EA Access trial sadly ended, Andromeda entirely opens up. Most RPGs notoriously have slow starts, which I understand, but rely on the main story to plant seeds of intrigue to carry the gamer along as it unrolls all its gameplay mechanics. Andromeda's main story is nothing short of absolutely disappointing and forgetful. Back on track though, once you're off EOS and planet hopping, I genuinely enjoyed my time with Mass Effect Andromeda. BioWare nailed the feeling of exploring foreign planets a la Mass Effect 1 through good use of color, not rehashing old models seen on planets, and each having its own diverse ecosystem that makes each planet's problems and quests unique. The game strongly emphasizes through its characters that people left behind their lives in the Milky Way, and while they were in cryosleep for centuries, their loved ones, jobs, and homes are nothing but memories now, and they aren't able to go back. It's a powerful and unique theme that carries a lot of the game's stories it tells. Comparatively speaking, in regards to Dragon Age Inquisition, Andromeda's side quests are a massive improvement. The stories revolving around these quest lines usually kept me engaged, and the collectathons are mostly gone. They're still there, but BioWare had a folder called, quote, tasks, and that's where these quests are usually found, aka please ignore us folder. But what happens when the questing groove comes to a screeching halt? Well, this happens all too much in Andromeda, leading to severe pacing issues, which is my personal biggest gripe with the entire title. Are you knee-deep in an emotional quest? Why not put it on hold? Yes, there are actually parts in the quest where you have to wait for an update, and it's super often, thus breaking the experience and pulling you back in an hour later as you're completing a bunch of other shit, where you're left scratching your head as you return thinking, where did I leave off? There are also monoliths and the Remnant, which are core to Andromeda's story as well, and while they are intriguing at first, they are sadly converted into a redundant gameplay mechanic involving puzzle glyphs. Some of you may recall in my Zelda review that I praised that game for changing up the open world formula with its puzzle focus, but these aren't even creative and bring back nightmares of Inquisition's, hey, check out X amount of these and do the thing. In fact, I think BioWare actually became sick of it as well, because at one point on a late game planet, they suddenly don't make you do the puzzles and instead just collect the glyphs as normal to unlock the puzzles, but instead you activate the terminal and the monolith turns on. It's almost like BioWare said, what were we thinking? Okay, shut them off now. While most quests are grounded in the planet they take place on, there are times you'll touch down on a planet, talk to someone, and be told to travel across the cluster to some other planet, and considering there are multiple load times, this once again interrupts the pace of Andromeda's usually enjoyable exploration and questing. The main story is overall weak outside of the Angara race, which got a bunch of focus and has become one of the best additions to the Mass Effect franchise that I can even think of. They are super interesting and they are awesome to get to know, but once their mysteries run out, the game loses traction very fast. The Archon was a weak villain. The Ryder family and how it was established is nothing short of pathetic, and the only reason you're really supposed to care about them is because, hey, it's your family. But fortunately, this game actually gave you the option a lot of times to say, I don't even care, because I really didn't as a player, because I didn't even know anyone from my family. You didn't have time to get to know your sister, you didn't have time to get to know your dad. Now, we have been discussing questing, so how is the role-playing? Is choice truly there, or is it an illusion? How is the conversations without a Paragon/Renegade system? Choices pop up from time to time and usually at the end of quests. Generally, it involves someone's life on the line, an impact on another race, and so on. The consequence is certainly there, but it's generally minor. You'll do something fairly drastic that could have a large impact and really piss people off, but usually your companions and other people get over it. In fact, I did something that probably should have made Jaal, the Angaran companion, absolutely hate me. And while he didn't talk to me for a little bit of time, it didn't change that he eventually got over it, acted like nothing happened, and I still had access to his loyalty mission afterwards. Like I said, choice is there, and the consequence is more than most action RPGs out there offer, but there was still the chance of significant repercussions which was not taken advantage of. For all the inspiration taken from Mass Effect 1 in this game, I wish the choice/consequence of that title was one of them. Conversations have also changed up, and instead of Paragon, Renegade, and some options, we now have 4 tones and impulsive actions. The 4 tones are logical, casual, professional, and emotional, or as I like to call it, smart nice guy, funny nice guy, by the book's leader nice guy, and sometimes mean but usually nice guy. Being an asshole in this game is tough. It's absolutely nothing in comparison to the original trilogy. The option to be a jerk is there on the very, very rare occasion, but man, this is exactly why I was a bit concerned about the removal of the Paragon Renegade system. Don't get me wrong, I completely understand why you would do away with it. It potentially narrowed down whether being a good guy or a bad guy and led to senseless choice just because before a playthrough you would say, okay, I'm gonna be a good guy or I'm gonna be a bad guy, so you'd already know what choice you're making and it wouldn't let you sit there and really ponder the impact of your choice. But on the other hand, this system provided a conversation framework unique to Mass Effect that allowed you to make choices, and without it, you have a new setup that is all about being a nice guy, except when talking to the main antagonist.
Archon, don't blame your people. This clusterfuck is all you.
And what's really, really crazy is that a lot of the times, conversations only offer 2 options of things to say, which is hilarious in its own right. Now, while the new conversation wheel isn't that good in my honest opinion, talking to characters is something I really did enjoy. The cast of companions that join you in the beginning are handled well. The interest is there almost immediately as they have brief snippets of their backstory revealed, and with more discussion that brings you to the loyalty missions, which are some of the game's best moments, and honestly some of my favorite in the series. Even after the loyalty missions, there are still unique companion missions that continue on, so it's not one of those, hey, I'm here to get it wet and then peace out to the next one, but actually a genuine relationship being built. On a serious note, romance or not, I liked the crew in Andromeda. My favorites were Cora, Liam, and Jaal, as well as Suvi, who confronts the conflict between God and science. Seriously, there is some really, really interesting talks to be had with your squad. The entire game is voiced well, very middle of the line in this category, as there weren't any standout performances, but there weren't any awful ones either. Same could be said with the game's music. There aren't any hit pieces, but it got the job done and helped reel me into whatever was happening. The sound of your jump jet, the different types of guns, the unique ambient noises across the planet, and so on are the most excellent part of the sound package. And that will bring us to combat. Yeah, this combat system kicks ass. It is so much fun. There was never a moment I was dreading entering combat, except for the one time my controller started messing up, because it gave me a chance to bust out some sick biotic combos, or maybe switch to my separate soldier build and try that out. Switching profiles is a really unique addition to the Mass Effect franchise that I was wrong about and really do like. Andromeda's combat is fast, fluid, and explosive. Although enemies are dumb, they'll shoot you enough to be a threat and force you into cover and tackle situations that force you to, use your head. The only flaw is the lack of control and customization on the companion side of things. I truly wish I could deck out my companions with armor and guns I crafted, as well as to control when they pull their powers. Some really awesome combos and teamwork could be put on display if that were possible, but that's where multiplayer actually shines a little bit. Teaming up with friends and diving in allows you to do combos of your dreams, such as freezing someone up and then tearing through them with a shockwave. Multiplayer in Andromeda is your standard horde mode, but it is a goddamn blast running through with friends as you unlock unique classes and weapons. I know when we think of Mass Effect, we think single player, and rightly so, but trust me when I say that multiplayer will be a pleasant surprise if you have or haven't played Mass Effect 3. Now, I know it may be hard to believe given my flaws I've pointed out with this game, but I genuinely had a fun time for the most part with this title. Despite my enjoyment, this is one that I suggest you wait for a sale on. Andromeda is a title that won't pull you away, but it has a lot of bright spots, and at the price of I'd say around $30, you would get your money's worth. The good news is that this is a massive improvement in the terms of questing compared to Dragon Age Inquisition. At the moment, the bugs and the inconsistency of the title are too much to beg of a $60 price tag. That'll do it for my review. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to fire away in the comments down below. I'm dying to hear what you guys think about the title so far. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. The links are in the description down below, as well as consider contributing to the Patreon. It helps fuel all the content we create here. Other than that, stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.